The champagne flute shatters against marble before Celine even realizes she's dropped it. Every head in the ballroom turns. The string quartet stops mid-note. 1,000 conversations die in the same breath. And suddenly the only sound filling the Grand Meridian Hotel is the click of her husband's shoes as he walks toward her with papers in his hand and a smile she's never seen before. Cold. Victorious. Final. Ladies and gentlemen, Victor announces, his voice booming through the microphone he shouldn't have. The one meant for charity speeches and grateful tears. I think it's time we were all honest about something. Celine's lungs forget how to work. The room tilts. Somewhere behind the lights and designer gowns, cameras start flashing because of course the press is here. Victor made sure of that. He always makes sure of everything. My wife and I, he continues, and the way he says wife sounds like a punch wrapped in silk, are ending our marriage. Tonight. The crowd gasps. A woman near the ice sculpture clutches her pearls. Celine wants to run, wants to scream, wants to disappear into the floor, but her legs have turned to stone and her heart is pounding so loud she's sure everyone can hear it breaking. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. Victor walks closer, each step deliberate, practiced. He's enjoying this. She can see it in the way his jaw sets, the way his eyes scan the crowd to make sure everyone is watching his performance. Their humiliation. Her humiliation. He stops 3 feet away and holds out the papers. Divorce documents. Already signed on his side, his signature bold and careless across the bottom line. All you have to do is sign, he says quietly, but the microphone catches it anyway. Everything catches. The cameras, the phones, the hungry stares of people who came here for champagne and ended up with blood sport instead. Her hands shake as she takes the papers. They feel heavier than they should, like they're made of lead instead of paper, like they weigh as much as 7 years of marriage and all the dreams she built inside them. A reporter shouts from the back, "Mrs. Sterling, did you know this was coming?" Another voice cuts through. "Victor, is there someone else?" Laughter ripples through sections of the crowd. Cruel, sharp laughter that sounds like breaking glass. Someone whispers loud enough for her to hear. She always seemed so desperate to please him. Celine's vision blurs. She can't tell if it's tears or rage or the room spinning out of control. Her fingers find the pen he's holding out, his expensive fountain pen, the one she gave him for their anniversary 2 years ago. She signs. Her hand moves like it belongs to someone else, like she's watching herself from somewhere far away. The ink bleeds across the page, her name becoming permanent, becoming the end of everything. The cameras flash brighter. The whispers grow louder. Victor takes the papers back with a nod that almost looks respectful, but Celine knows better. She's known better for months. She turns to leave, her heels clicking against marble that suddenly feels like ice. The crowd parts because nobody wants to stand too close to failure. Nobody wants it to be contagious. But just before she reaches the gilded doors, just before she disappears into whatever comes after this nightmare, something strange happens. Her lips curve upward, just slightly, just enough, and she whispers, so quietly that only she can hear it, so softly that it feels like a promise she's making to herself. One day, my signature will mean more than his fortune. What would you do if someone humiliated you in front of everyone you know? Would you run and hide, or would you plot your comeback? The apartment smells like salt and old wood, nothing like the penthouse that used to smell like imported orchids and Victor's cologne. Celine stares at the laptop screen, her eyes burning from another 12-hour shift editing wedding videos for strangers who still believe in happy endings. The irony tastes bitter. She's splicing together someone else's vows while her own marriage plays on loop in her nightmares. Over and over, that ballroom, those cameras, that signature. Her phone buzzes. Leo's name flashes across the screen. "Mom, can you jump on a call? I need help with something." She clicks the video link he sends, expecting to see her son's messy dorm room and his usual request for money or advice about girls or both. Instead, there's another face on the screen. A man maybe her age, dark hair, tired eyes that somehow look kind. "This is Ronan," Leo says, grinning like he's introducing her to a celebrity. He's helping me with the coding project I told you about. Ronan, this is my mom. Hi, Ronan says, and his voice is steady in a way that makes something in her chest loosen. Leo says you're good with visual editing. We could use your eye on the interface design if you have time. She should say no. She should keep her head down, stay invisible, avoid anything that connects her back to the world that chewed her up and spit her out 6 months ago. But Leo's looking at her with hope in his eyes. The same hope she's been trying to rebuild in herself every morning when she wakes up in this tiny bedroom. Sure, she hears herself say, I can take a look. The project is complicated, something about detecting fake media and manipulated videos. Leo explains it in bursts of enthusiasm, while Ronan fills in the technical gaps with patience she hasn't heard from a man in years. They work for 2 hours, and Celine forgets to feel ashamed of her secondhand furniture or the fact that she's wearing a sweatshirt with a coffee stain on the sleeve. Have you ever met someone who made you feel like yourself again, even when you thought that version of you was gone forever? When they finish, Leo logs off to grab dinner, but Ronan stays on the call. Your son talks about you a lot, he says. He's worried. Celine's throat tightens. He shouldn't be. I'm Fina. Are you? The question is so simple it hurts. Nobody's asked her that. Not her mother, who said she should have tried harder to keep Victor happy. Not her old friends, who stopped calling after the divorce went viral. Not even herself. I'm working on it, she whispers. Ronan nods like he understands more than she's saying. I went through a divorce 3 years ago. Not public like yours, but still felt like drowning. Took me a while to remember how to swim. Something breaks open inside her. Maybe it's permission to stop pretending. Maybe it's just exhaustion. Either way, she starts talking and doesn't stop for an hour. About the humiliation, the silence that followed, the way she can't watch the news anymore because she's terrified of seeing her own face frozen in that moment of pain. Ronan listens. Actually listens. Doesn't interrupt. Doesn't offer hollow comfort. Doesn't tell her everything happens for a reason. When she finally runs out of words, he says, You know what I learned? Sometimes the end of love is just the beginning of purpose. The phrase settles into her bones like truth. Like a map she didn't know she needed. I should let you go, she says, even though she doesn't want to. Even though this call feels like the first real conversation she's had since the night her world exploded. Same time next week? Ronan asks. For the project? Yeah, she says, and realizes she's smiling. Same time. After he logs off, Celine sits in the blue glow of her laptop, the ocean outside her window whispering against the shore. Her phone buzzes again. A text from Ronan. Sometimes the end of love is just the beginning of purpose. I meant that for both of us. If you had the chance to rebuild yourself from scratch, who would you become? Leo's hands won't stop shaking as he shows her the prototype. Look, Mom. See how it analyzes the pixels? It can tell when someone's been edited into a scene, when audio's been manipulated, when a video's been cut to change the meaning. Celine watches the software work, watches it tear apart a news clip and expose every lie hidden in the editing. And suddenly she's back in that ballroom, watching reporters twist her silence into guilt, watching blogs crop photos to make her look weak, watching the narrative slip completely out of her control. This could have helped you, Leo says quietly. That's why I'm building it. Her son, her brilliant, angry, protective son who watched his mother get destroyed on national television and decided to fight back with code and logic and determination. It's incredible, she tells him, and means it. Over the next few weeks, Ronan helps them refine the software. Late-night video calls turn into strategy sessions. Celine starts designing the interface, creating something clean and powerful, something that feels like armor made of pixels and purpose. One night, Ronan asks her a question that changes everything. What if you put your name on this? Celine freezes. What? Not as a developer. As the face of it. The founder. Your signature's already famous. What if you made it mean something different? The idea terrifies her. Going public again, risking more cameras and questions and cruel comments. But there's something else there too. Something that feels like taking back what was stolen. I don't know if I'm ready, she admits. You don't have to be ready, Ronan says. You just have to be willing. What would you risk to transform your biggest humiliation into your greatest weapon? Leo watches them talk, his eyes moving between his mother and this man who's become more than just a coding mentor. Celine sees it, the hope that maybe his mom might smile again, might laugh again, might find something worth fighting for. There's a tech conference in 3 months, Ronan continues. In the city. We could present there. Show what Leo's built. Show what you survived. The city. Where Victor still lives, still runs his empire, still probably tells people his version of their ending at dinner parties and business meetings. But also where she used to live. Where she used to matter. Where she could matter again, but differently this time. On her own terms. Celine looks at the software interface on her screen, at the clean lines and bold fonts, at the space where a logo could go. She imagines her signature there, reimagined, reborn into something that protects instead of surrenders. Okay, she says, surprising herself. Let's do it. Leo jumps up and whoops. Ronan grins. And Celine feels something she hasn't felt in months, maybe years. Not happiness exactly, but its cousin. The kind of feeling that whispers maybe. That night, after Leo's asleep and the call with Ronan has ended, she gets a message that makes her blood run cold. It's from Victor's assistant. 3 words that prove he's already heard about her plans, already knows she's coming back. He wants to meet. Should she face her ex-husband before she's ready? Or would that be walking straight back into his trap? The city looks different than she remembers. Or maybe she's the one who's different. Celine stands outside the convention center, her heart hammering against her ribs like it's trying to escape. Leo adjusts his tie beside her, looking older than 18, looking like someone who's about to change the world. Ronan's on her other side, steady and calm, his presence an anchor in the chaos. You've got this, Ronan says, and she almost believes him. Inside, the energy is electric. Tech companies showing off innovations, investors hunting for the next big thing, entrepreneurs pitching dreams disguised as algorithms. Celine keeps her head down, sunglasses on, trying to be invisible just a little bit longer. But invisible is hard when you're famous for all the wrong reasons. Is that her? Someone whispers. The wife who got divorced on camera? I heard she disappeared. Guess she's back. The words sting less than they used to, but they still sting. Celine squares her shoulders and keeps walking. Their presentation isn't until tomorrow. Today is just setup, just preparation, just breathing and remembering why she came here. Then she sees him. Victor's standing near the main stage, surrounded by his usual crowd of executives and admirers. He looks exactly the same. Expensive suit, perfect hair, that smile that used to make her feel special, and now just makes her feel stupid for ever falling for it. Their eyes meet across the crowded hall. He excuses himself from his group and walks toward her. And suddenly she's 18 again, meeting him at her college job, believing his promises about forever. Would you run from the man who destroyed you? Or stand your ground and show him you survived? Celine, he says when he reaches her, his voice smooth as always. I heard you might be here. Victor. Her voice doesn't shake. Small victory. Leo steps closer, protective, but she touches his arm gently. This is her fight now. Your assistant said you wanted to meet, she says. Victor glances at Leo, at Ronan, then back to her. Can we talk? Privately. Everything in her screams no, but she nods. They move to a quiet corner near the emergency exit, far enough from the crowd that cameras can't find them. Your son's project, Victor starts. The media detection software. I've been following the development. Of course he has. Victor always knows everything. It's his superpower and his sickness. What about it? My company needs something like that. Our reputation's taken hits lately. Fake news, manipulated footage, competitor sabotage. What Leo's built could save us. Celine stares at him. You're joking. I'm serious. Name your price. Partnership, contract, whatever you want. We can help each other. The audacity of it almost makes her laugh. He humiliated her in front of the world, and now he wants to use her son's invention, the thing Leo built because of that humiliation, to save himself. Why would I help you? She asks. Victor leans in, close enough that she can smell his cologne, the same one that used to cling to her pillow. Because you're smart, because you know how the game works, and because he pauses, something flickering in his eyes that might be regret or might be manipulation. For old time's sake, he pulls out a folder. Partnership papers, already prepared, already waiting for her signature, just like the divorce papers 6 months ago. Sign this, Celine. Let's both win. Her hand trembles as she takes the folder. Inside are numbers that would change everything. Money that would let Leo finish school without loans, that would move her out of that tiny apartment, that would prove she's still worth something in the world that matters. All she has to do is sign. Think about it, Victor says. You have until tomorrow. He walks away, leaving her standing there with the folder in her hands and Ronan's words echoing in her head. Sometimes the end of love is just the beginning of purpose. If revenge and riches were one signature away, what would stop you from taking them both? The hotel room is too quiet, which means Celine's thoughts are too loud. She's been staring at Victor's partnership papers for 3 hours, the numbers blurring together until they stop meaning anything except escape. Escape from struggle, from uncertainty, from having to prove herself to a world that's already decided she's just the woman who got humiliated at a charity gala. Leo's asleep in the adjoining room. He doesn't know about Victor's offer. Doesn't know his mother is sitting here at 2 in the morning, pen in hand, tempted by the same man who destroyed her. Her phone buzzes. Ronan. Can't sleep either, his text reads. She calls him instead of responding. He answers on the first ring, his voice rough with exhaustion. Tell me I'm not crazy, she says. Tell me it would be insane to sign his papers. Ronan is quiet for a long moment. What does your gut say? My gut says I'm tired. Tired of being broke, tired of hiding, tired of feeling like I lost everything and he lost nothing. That's not your gut. That's your anger. There's a difference. Celine closes her eyes. Rain starts pattering against the window, gentle at first, then harder. What if this is my only chance? What if I say no and spend the rest of my life wondering if I could have had it all back? You wouldn't have it back, Ronan says softly. You'd have his version of success. His terms. His control. Again, the truth of it hits her like cold water. She'd be signing away more than partnership rights. She'd be signing away the person she's becoming. The one who builds instead of begs, who creates instead of compromises. Have you ever been offered everything you wanted, only to realize it would cost you everything you are? I don't know what to do, she whispers. Go me downstairs. Lobby. I'm already here. She should say no. Should stay in her room, make this decision alone like she's made every decision since the divorce. But she grabs her jacket and goes anyway. Ronan's sitting in a corner of the empty lobby, 2 cups of coffee on the table in front of him. He looks tired, rumpled real. Nothing like Victor's polished perfection. She sits across from him, and without planning to, starts crying. Not dramatic sobs, just quiet tears that won't stop coming. I thought I was stronger than this, she says. You are stronger than this. That's why it's hard. Weak people take the easy money. Strong people have to actually choose. They talk until sunrise about divorce and regret and the difference between revenge and justice. About what it means to build something real versus chasing the ghost of who you used to be. Somewhere around dawn, Ronan reaches across the table and takes her hand. Grace is power too, he says. Walking away from what you don't need anymore, that's not weakness. That's evolution. The touch of his hand feels like permission. Permission to be uncertain, to be scared, to be someone who doesn't have all the answers yet. I think I'm falling for you, she admits, surprising herself. Ronan smiles, tired and genuine. I know. I've been falling for you since the first video call, when you were wearing that sweatshirt with the coffee stain and didn't care. They kiss there in the empty lobby while rain falls outside and the city wakes up. It's not the passionate kiss of movies or romance novels. It's softer than that, more honest. The kiss of 2 people who've been broken and are learning how to be whole. When they pull apart, Celine knows what she's going to do. I need to see Victor one more time, she says. To turn him down, to show him what my signature really means now. Ronan nods, understanding more than she's saying. Want me there? No, this one's mine. Back in her room, Celine opens her laptop and creates something Victor never expected. Not partnership papers. Something else entirely. Something that will change everything. She signs her name at the bottom. And this time, her hand doesn't shake at all. What document could transform a victim into a victor with just one signature? The press conference room is packed, every seat filled, cameras lining the back wall like soldiers waiting for war. Celine walks to the podium with Leo on her left and Ronan on her right, and she can feel every eye in the room tracking her movement. Some faces she recognizes from that night, the reporters who shouted questions while her marriage died in real time. They're here for blood again, or at least they think they are. Victor's in the third row, flanked by his lawyers, his expression unreadable. She doesn't look at him. Not yet. Thank you all for coming, Celine begins, her voice steady through the microphone. 6 months ago, many of you watched me sign divorce papers in front of cameras. Today, I'm here to show you what my signature really means. The screen behind her lights up. Her company logo appears, clean and bold, built around a stylized version of her signature that looks nothing like the trembling scrawl from that ballroom. This version is strong, deliberate, her own. This is Veritas Technologies, she announces. My company, built with my son Leo and our partner Ronan Hayes. We've developed software that detects manipulated media, fake news, and deceptive editing. The same tools that were used to twist my story are now tools we're fighting against. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Cameras flash. A reporter raises her hand. Mrs. Sterling, we heard Victor Sterling's company was interested in partnering with you. Can you comment? Celine allows herself a small smile. Mr. Sterling did approach me with an offer. I declined. Victor shifts in his seat. She can feel his discomfort like electricity in the air. Instead, she continues, Veritas Technologies has secured independent funding and will be licensing our software to multiple firms, news organizations, and social media platforms, including, as of this morning, a contract with Sterling Industries. Would you make your enemy pay for the very thing they need to survive? The room explodes. Questions fly from every direction. Victor's face has gone pale, his lawyers leaning in to whisper frantically. To clarify, Celine says, her voice cutting through the noise, Sterling Industries approached us last week requesting access to our technology. We granted it at standard commercial rates. They'll pay us for the privilege of using what my son built from pain they caused. Leo steps up to the microphone, his voice young but certain. My mom taught me that you can't control how people hurt you, but you can control what you build from the rubble. This software exists because we refuse to stay victims. The cameras love it. The reporters are typing furiously. And Victor is standing up, trying to leave, but journalists are blocking his path, shouting questions about the contract, about the terms, about how it feels to need help from the woman he humiliated. He catches Celine's eye across the room. She sees it there, the realization, the understanding that she's rewritten the story completely. A reporter near the front calls out, Mr. Sterling, do you regret how you handled your divorce? Victor stops, turns, and for just a second, something human crosses his face. No comment, he says, but everyone hears what he doesn't say. Celine watches him push through the crowd and disappear. No grand confrontation, no dramatic showdown. Just a man walking away from a woman who doesn't need him anymore. As the press conference winds down, a young reporter approaches her, nervous. Ms. Sterling, there's something people are saying online. They're calling you the woman who signed her way to freedom. How does that feel? Celine thinks about the question, about the night in the ballroom and the morning in the hotel lobby, about every moment between then and now. It feels, she says slowly, like finally writing my own story. Victor's voice cuts through just as she's leaving the stage. He somehow made it backstage, past security, past everyone trying to keep him away. You planned this all along, he says, not quite an accusation, more like wonder. Celine turns to face him one last time. No, she tells him honestly. I grew into it. What's more powerful, revenge or becoming someone your enemy, can never hurt again. The video goes viral in 4 hours. Celine watches from her hotel room, as clips from the press conference spread across every platform. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, news sites, blogs. Her face is everywhere again, but this time the comments are different. She's a queen. This is how you do a comeback. From humiliated wife to CEO, somebody make this a movie. Leo brings her coffee and sits beside her on the bed, both of them scrolling through the avalanche of support. "Mom, look at this one," he says, showing her a post with 50,000 likes. It's a side-by-side image, her signing the divorce papers next to her standing at the podium today. The caption reads, "Same woman, different signature." That's called growth. Tears prick at her eyes, but they're not sad tears. They're the kind that come when you realize you've survived something you thought would destroy you. The interview requests start flooding in within hours. Good Morning America, The Today Show, podcasts, magazines, even a documentary crew. Everyone wants to know how she did it, how she went from that ballroom to this boardroom. She chooses carefully. No tabloids, no sensationalism. Just one interview with a journalist she respects, someone who promises to tell the real story. If you could rewrite your worst moment into your greatest triumph, what would that look like? The interview happens 3 days later in a studio with soft lighting and comfortable chairs. The journalist, Maya Chun, doesn't go for the throat. She goes for the heart. "Celine, the world watched you experience one of the most painful moments of your life. What did you learn from it?" Celine takes a breath. "I learned that you can't control how people humiliate you, but you can choose how you rise from it. I learned that my worth isn't determined by someone else's cruelty. And I learned that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the push you needed to become who you were always meant to be." Maya leans forward. "There's been speculation about your relationship with Ronan Hayes, your business partner. Can you address that?" Celine smiles, and it's genuine. "Ronan taught me that not all men need you to be small, so they can feel big. He encouraged every dream, every plan, every version of myself I was becoming. That's not just a good partner. That's a good person." The camera catches Ronan watching from backstage, his expression soft with something that looks a lot like love. Maya asks her final question. "Celine, who inspired you most during this journey?" Celine glances toward Ronan, then back to the camera. "Honestly, myself. The version of me that refused to give up, even when giving up would have been easier. And my son, who showed me that pain can become purpose if you're brave enough to transform it." After the interview airs, the internet loses its mind again. Clips get shared millions of times. Women start using the hashtag #GrowthNotRevenge. Celine's company website crashes from traffic. But the message that matters most comes from someone unexpected. It's from Victor's mother, the woman who never liked Celine, who always thought her son married beneath him. "I was wrong about you. You have more grace than my son ever deserved. I hope you find happiness." Celine reads it 3 times, then deletes it. Not out of anger, but because some apologies don't need to be kept. They just need to be received. That night, Ronan takes her to dinner, somewhere quiet away from cameras and crowds. They talk about the future, about expanding the company, about what comes next now that survival isn't the main goal anymore. "What do you want?" Ronan asks. "Really want?" Celine thinks about it. "Peace. Purpose. Someone to share both with." He reaches across the table, takes her hand. "I can work with that. When was the last time someone asked what you really wanted, not what you should want?" The restaurant has floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, all glittering lights and endless possibility. Celine sits across from Ronan, candlelight dancing between them, and thinks about how different this feels from all those charity dinners with Victor. Those were performances, everyone watching, everyone judging. This is private, real, theirs. "I need to tell you something," Ronan says, his voice serious enough to make her stomach tighten. "Okay, I wasn't completely honest about why I helped Leo with his project." Celine's hand stills on her wine glass. "What do you mean?" Ronan looks uncomfortable, which is new. He's usually so steady. "I saw what happened to you at that gala. Everyone did. And I was angry. Not just sympathetic, actually angry. Because 3 years ago, my ex-wife left me in a similar way. Not publicly, but she made me feel small and worthless, like I'd wasted her time just by existing." He takes a breath. When Leo reached out asking for coding help, I looked up who his mother was. I knew it was you. And I guess part of me wanted to help because I understood what it felt like to be discarded. Celine doesn't know how to feel. So this was some kind of rescue mission. At first, maybe, but then I talked to you. His eyes meet hers, honest and open. And I realized you didn't need rescuing. You were already saving yourself. You just needed someone to believe in you while you did it. Would you be angry if someone's pity turned into real love, or would you forgive the messy beginning? She should be upset, should feel manipulated or pitted. But looking at Ronan's face, seeing the vulnerability there, she only feels understood. I'm glad you weren't completely honest, she says finally. Because if you had been, we might never have gotten here. Relief washes over his features. Here meaning me. Falling in love with a man who sees my strength instead of my scars. Here meaning us, whatever we're becoming. Ronan stands, comes around the table, pulls her to her feet. I fell in love with you during that first video call, when you were wearing that coffee-stained sweatshirt and talking about visual editing like it was art. I fell in love with the woman who rebuilt herself without bitterness, who turned pain into purpose, who signed her name to her own future. He kisses her then, soft and deep, and it feels like closure, not to pain, but to the version of herself that thought she wasn't enough. That version is gone now, replaced by someone stronger, someone whole. When they pull apart, the restaurant has emptied around them without either of them noticing. Now what? Celine asks, breathless. Ronan grins. Now you tell me what you want to sign next. She laughs, real and full. How about a lease? For a bigger office. We're going to need the space. Done. What else? A contract with that documentary crew. But only if we control the narrative. Obviously. What else? Celine pauses, her heart suddenly racing. Maybe, eventually, if things keep going the way they're going, something that involves both our signatures. Ronan's eyes widen slightly. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying I'm open to possibilities. With you. When we're ready. He pulls her close again, and they sway there in the empty restaurant like they're dancing to music only they can hear. I never thought I'd trust someone with my heart again, Celine whispers. You're not trusting me with your heart, Ronan says. You're sharing it. There's a difference. They leave the restaurant hand in hand, stepping out into the cool night air. The city spreads before them, full of second chances and new beginnings. Celine's phone buzzes. A text from Leo. Stop being gross and romantic. Come home. We got another contract offer. She shows Ronan, and they both laugh. What would you risk to find someone who celebrates your strength instead of fearing it? Victor's office hasn't changed. All glass and steel and expensive art that means nothing. Celine walks in without knocking, and he doesn't look surprised to see her. He's been expecting this, she realizes. He always was good at reading a room. You came, he says. You sent 17 emails. Eventually, I had to respond. He gestures to the chair across from his desk. She stays standing. Victor looks older than he did at the press conference 2 months ago. Tired, like the weight of needing her is heavier than he expected. I have a proposal, he says, pulling out yet another folder. A merger. Real this time, not just licensing. Your company and mine combined. We'd be unstoppable. Would you join forces with the person who destroyed you if it meant building an empire? Celine takes the folder, but doesn't open it. Why, Victor? You have everything you wanted. The divorce, the freedom, whatever woman you're dating now. He corrects quietly. Past tense. Turns out when you build a reputation for publicly humiliating your wife, other women get nervous about being next. She almost feels sorry for him. Almost. My company's stock has dropped 30% since your press conference, he continues. Clients are asking questions about ethics and character. Competitors are circling. I need this merger, Celine. I need you. There it is. The admission she never thought she'd hear. Victor Sterling, needing someone, needing her, needing the woman he tried to erase. What you're really saying, Celine says slowly, is that you need my reputation to fix yours. You need the woman who rose from humiliation to make people forget you're the man who caused it. Victor doesn't deny it. Is that so wrong? We could both benefit. Financially, strategically. We were always good at business together. She thinks about the years they spent building his empire while her own dreams sat in boxes, waiting for someday. Thinks about all the charity galas where she smiled and nodded while he took credit for ideas she whispered in bed the night before. No, she says. Think about the money. Think about what we could build. I am thinking about what I could build. And it doesn't include you. She pulls out her own folder, the one she's been carrying since this meeting was scheduled. This is a buyout agreement. Veritas Technologies is offering to purchase Sterling Industries' media division, the part that's bleeding money because nobody trusts it anymore. We'll pay fair market value, which is significantly less than what it was worth before you divorced me on camera. Victor's face goes white. You're serious. Completely. Your company needs credibility. My company has it. This way, you get to keep your other divisions, walk away with cash, and rebuild whatever's left of your reputation somewhere else. And if I say no, Celine smiles, and it's not cruel, just honest. Then you keep drowning while I keep swimming. Your choice. He stares at the papers like they're written in a language he doesn't understand. This was never about revenge for you, was it? No, she says and means it. It was about peace. Victor signs. His hand shakes slightly, just like hers did in that ballroom, and she wonders if he notices the poetry of it. When it's done, when the papers are witnessed and final, he looks at her one last time. I did love you, in the beginning. I know, Celine says, but love without respect is just pretty words. And I deserve more than pretty words. She walks out of his office, out of the building where she used to bring him lunch, where she used to wait in the lobby while he finished meetings. The security guard who remembers her from the old days nods with respect. Outside, Ronan's waiting by the car. How'd it go? I signed my name to his ending, Celine says. Feels right. As they drive away, Victor watches from his office window, and Celine doesn't look back. What's stronger, keeping your enemy close or setting them free while you rise higher? The auditorium holds 300 women, all of them here to listen to Celine speak about empowerment and resilience and building yourself back from nothing. She stands at the podium, no longer nervous about cameras or crowds or judgment. That version of her died in a ballroom 6 months ago. This version was born in a seaside apartment, grew in video calls with a kind engineer, and became herself in the moment she chose growth over revenge. Thank you all for being here, she begins. A year ago, I signed a worst document of my life in front of cameras and strangers. Today, I want to talk about what happened next, because the signature isn't the ending. It's just a comma in a much longer sentence. The women lean forward, listening. Celine tells them about the humiliation, but not in detail. That's not the point. She tells them about the choice she made to build instead of break, to create instead of crumble. About her son's invention and Ronan's faith, and her own stubborn refusal to let someone else's cruelty define her worth. Revenge is loud, she says. It's dramatic and satisfying in movies. But growth? Growth is silent until it speaks for itself. And when it finally speaks, it doesn't shout. It just stands there undeniable and lets results do the talking. A woman in the third row raises her hand. How did you stop being angry? I'm going through a divorce right now, and I can't imagine ever not hating him. Celine's answer is honest. I didn't stop being angry. I redirected it. Every time I wanted to scream or plot or obsess about what he did to me, I coded instead, or designed, or planned the next move for my company. I turned fury into fuel. Eventually, the anger just burned itself out, and what was left was purpose. What would you build if you transformed your pain into power instead of letting it consume you? Another hand goes up. Do you ever regret not taking his merger offer? You could have made millions more. No, Celine says without hesitation, because those millions would have been his terms, his control, his version of my success. I'd rather make less money on my own terms than more money on someone else's leash. The audience applauds. Celine sees tears in some faces, determination in others. After the talk, women line up to shake her hand, to share their own stories of humiliation and survival. A young girl, maybe 19, tells her that watching the press conference made her leave an abusive boyfriend. An older woman, says Celine, reminded her it's never too late to start over. These moments matter more than the company valuation, more than the contracts, more than any revenge could ever feel. Backstage, Leo's there with his laptop, already working on the next version of their software. Ronan's beside him, offering suggestions, looking proud. They're a team now, a family that chose each other instead of just being assigned. Mom, Leo says, we got invited to present at a tech summit in Singapore. They want to feature our story. Our story or my story? She asks. Both. It's the same thing now. She hugs him tight, this son who turned pain into innovation, who showed her that the next generation knows how to heal by building. That night, in the quiet of her new apartment, the one with space and light and windows that overlook possibility, Celine opens her laptop. She starts writing, not for a speech or a presentation, but for herself. A letter to the woman she was a year ago, the one standing in that ballroom with trembling hands. Dear past me, she writes, I know it hurts right now. I know you think you'll never recover, but I need you to know something. The signature you're about to write isn't your ending. It's your permission slip. Permission to become who you were always meant to be, before you made yourself small for someone who couldn't appreciate your size. Sign it. Walk away. And trust that the woman you're becoming is worth every moment of pain you're feeling right now. The most powerful thing you'll ever sign is your own beginning. She saves the document, then opens a new one. A business plan for expanding internationally. A vision board for where Veritas Technologies could be in 5 years. A future she's writing herself, signature by signature, choice by choice. Ronan calls. You still up? Always. What's on your mind? I was thinking about what you said today. About signing your own beginning. I want to do that too. With you. Whatever that looks like. Celine smiles into the darkness. That sounds like something worth signing. So what comes next? CEO Sterling. She looks at the plans spread across her desk, at the life she's building, at the reflection of herself in the window, strong and whole, and finally at peace. Everything, she says. Everything comes next. And sometimes, she thinks as she ends the call and returns to her work, the most powerful thing you can ever sign is your name to your own destiny, especially when the world thought that signature meant surrender. They were wrong. It meant revolution. If you made it this far, you've witnessed what's possible when humiliation transforms into power. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to rebuild yourself from scratch? What would you sign your name to if you could rewrite your story? Drop your answers in the comments below and inspire someone else who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Your support means everything, and who knows? Your comment might be the encouragement someone needs today. Thank you for being part of this family.